White may look like the simplest color on the red carpet, but at the Venice Film Festival, it has created some of the most breathtaking fashion moments ever seen. Over the years, Hollywood stars have taken the classic white dress and turned it into everything from romantic couture to dramatic, show-stopping masterpieces. Some were delicate and dreamy, some were bold and incredibly glamorous, and a few became so iconic that they are still remembered years later. So today, we're counting down the top 15 best white dresses ever worn at the Venice Film Festival. And believe me, narrowing this list down to just 15 was not easy. Anne Hathaway, 2006. Let's start with Anne Hathaway, because this 2006 Venice appearance was one of the moments that completely changed how we saw her style. At the premiere of The Devil Wears Prada during the 63rd Venice Film Festival, Anne stepped onto the red carpet in an ethereal white Alberta Ferretti gown that made her look like she had walked straight out of a classical painting. The design was all about soft draping and graceful movement. Its asymmetrical, one-shoulder neckline left one shoulder beautifully exposed, while the fabric fell in long, fluid layers down her body. The column shape kept everything sleek, but the Grecian influence gave it that almost goddess-like quality. And there was something incredibly refreshing about the simplicity. There were no complicated patterns or overwhelming embellishments competing for attention. The pure white tone, elegant draping, and clean silhouette were enough to make the dress stand out against the Venice backdrop. This was also an important moment in Anne's fashion evolution. She was promoting The Devil Wears Prada, and stylist Rachel Zoe helped push her toward a more sophisticated, fashion-focused image during this period. Looking back, this gown really does feel like an early glimpse of the red carpet style icon she would eventually become. Her beauty look followed the same elegant direction. Anne wore her brunette hair in a polished updo, keeping her face and neckline completely visible, while a softly defined smoky eye added just enough drama. Diamond drop earrings provided a delicate touch of sparkle without disturbing the clean look. Eva Herzigová, 2008. Eva Herzigová brought a very different kind of white glamour to Venice in 2008. Romantic, daring, and unmistakably Valentino. At the premiere of Valentino, the Last Emperor, during the 65th Venice Film Festival, the supermodel arrived alongside Valentino Garavani himself, wearing a breathtaking white Valentino Couture gown. And considering the film was celebrating the legendary designer's life and career, there could hardly have been a more fitting fashion choice. The gown was all about delicate white lace, creating an almost vintage feeling while still looking incredibly dramatic on the red carpet. The intricate open work gave the fabric a beautiful texture, while the long silhouette made the look feel elegant from head to toe. But there was nothing overly sweet about it. The lace had a sheer quality that added a much more daring edge to the otherwise romantic white design. That contrast, traditional couture craftsmanship with a hint of transparency, was exactly what kept the look from feeling too conservative. And the timing made the appearance even more special. This wasn't simply Eva wearing Valentino at another film festival. She was wearing Valentino at the premiere of a film about Valentino, and British Vogue noted that the gown came from the final collection he sent down the runway before retiring. Eva kept the beauty styling glamorous but uncomplicated, with her blonde hair swept into soft, voluminous waves and a polished makeup look that allowed the intricate lace to remain the focus. Barbara Palvin, 2016. Barbara Palvin brought a completely different kind of white glamour to Venice in 2016, soft, romantic, and almost fairy tale-like. At the 73rd Venice Film Festival, Barbara stepped onto the red carpet in an Ivory Philosophy di Lorenzo Serafini gown that immediately stood out for its delicate, flowing design. The dress had a beautiful halter neckline with a ruffled collar, giving the top a vintage-inspired feel. A small keyhole opening added just enough contrast, while the intricate detailing around the neckline made the simple ivory color feel much more interesting. Then came the skirt, light, tiered, and beautifully ruffled, with layers of delicate fabric creating movement every time Barbara walked. Instead of looking heavy or overly formal, the gown had an airy quality that made it feel perfectly suited to a warm Venice evening. What really made the look work was the balance between romantic detailing and youthful styling. The soft ivory shade gave it that classic princess quality, while the relaxed construction stopped it from looking too traditional. Her makeup stayed equally fresh, with glowing skin, softly defined eyes, and a natural pink lip. It was delicate without disappearing, romantic without becoming overly sweet, and effortlessly different from the more dramatic gowns dominating the Venice red carpet. That dreamy quality is exactly what made Barbara Palvin's 2016 white look so memorable. Natalie Portman, Manos, 2016. Natalie Portman gave white couture a very memorable moment in Venice in 2016, and her appearance had another story unfolding beneath the gown. At the premiere of Planetarium during the 2016 Venice Film Festival, Natalie arrived in an elegant white Christian Dior Haute Couture gown. The clean Grecian-inspired design followed her figure beautifully, with a striking one-shoulder neckline giving the otherwise simple silhouette a much more dramatic finish. But the real showstopper was the fabric flowing from her shoulder. A long, cape-like train swept behind her, creating movement with every step and turning a minimalist white gown into something far more theatrical. And then there was the moment everyone noticed. Natalie was pregnant with her second child, and the softly draped silhouette made her growing bump clearly visible. Her appearance quickly became one of the most talked about moments of the festival, with the pregnancy becoming a major part of the fashion story surrounding the gown. Rather than covering everything beneath layers of fabric, the Dior design allowed the shape of her body to remain visible while still looking incredibly polished. That combination of simplicity, structure, and softness made the white gown feel both modern and timeless. She finished the look with sparkling Bulgari jewelry, while her hair was swept back into a polished updo and her makeup stayed understated, with softly defined eyes and a natural pink nude lip. Penélope Cruz, 2017. Penélope Cruz arrived in Venice in 2017 looking like she had stepped straight into a glamorous fantasy, and the feathers made sure nobody missed her. For the premiere of Loving Pablo at the 74th Venice Film Festival, Penélope chose a spectacular custom Atelier Versace gown in white, combining a figure-hugging, heavily embellished top with a completely different kind of skirt. The bodice was sleek and fitted, with a deep halter-style V neckline that was covered in intricate shimmering embellishment. Against the clean white base, the detailing caught the light beautifully and gave the upper half of the dress a luxurious, almost jewel-like effect. Then the gown changed completely at the waist. The skirt exploded into layers of soft white feathers, creating a dramatic contrast with the sleek, decorated bodice. It gave the dress an almost bird-like, fantasy quality, while still keeping the unmistakable glamour associated with Versace. And just when the feathers could have been enough, there was a high thigh slit running through the skirt, adding movement and revealing a much more sensual side of the look. The combination of the delicate feathers and daring cut made the gown feel both romantic and provocative. Penélope kept the rest of the styling focused on the dress, adding sparkling Atelier Swarovski jewelry without overwhelming all that texture. Her dark hair fell in soft waves, while the makeup brought extra definition to her eyes with a sultry, smoky finish and a softer nude lip. Lady Gaga, 2018. At the A Star is Born photo call during the 2018 Venice Film Festival, Gaga stepped out in a striking white Azzedine Alaïa dress that looked completely different from the more outrageous fashion moments audiences had come to expect from her. The dress had a beautifully structured A-line shape, with a fitted bodice flowing into a softer T-length skirt. Its low V neckline and unusual multiple shoulder straps gave the otherwise classic silhouette a modern edge. And then there was the color. The crisp white fabric made the dress look incredibly clean against Gaga's platinum hair, while also leaving the tattoos on her arms and back completely visible. That contrast gave the polished, almost ladylike silhouette a distinctly Gaga twist. Instead of piling on dramatic accessories, she kept the styling restrained, allowing the architecture of the Alaïa dress to speak for itself. Her platinum hair was swept into soft retro waves, reinforcing the old Hollywood mood that defined much of her A Star is Born press tour. The makeup followed the same direction, glowing skin, defined eyes, and a softer neutral lip, creating a polished daytime finish rather than the heavier stage-inspired glam associated with Gaga. What makes this appearance especially memorable is the transformation. Lady Gaga, the woman known for some of fashion's wildest red carpet experiments, appeared in Venice looking remarkably refined without losing her personality. Vogue later singled out her bright white Alaïa appearance as one of the standout moments of that extraordinary 2018 festival. Penélope Cruz, 2019. At the premiere of Wasp Network during the 76th Venice Film Festival, she stepped onto the red carpet wearing a breathtaking Ralph and Russo Fall 2019 Haute Couture gown, and the sheer amount of tulle made it impossible to look anywhere else. The fitted bodice was covered in crystals and delicate feather detailing, creating a sparkling, almost jewel-encrusted effect against the white fabric. It gave the upper half of the gown a beautifully intricate finish before the dress opened into something much more dramatic. The skirt was the real fantasy. Upon layer of white tulle and cascading ruffles created an enormous flowing ball gown silhouette that followed her as she walked. It had that classic couture volume, but the lightweight fabric kept it from looking overly stiff. And then there was the contrast between the romantic skirt and the more revealing details around the bodice. Sheer fabric, sparkling embellishment, and soft feathers gave the otherwise traditional white gown a modern edge, preventing it from looking like a conventional bridal dress. Penelope completed the mood with Atelier Versace fine jewelry, while her hair was swept into a relaxed, elegant updo. And instead of going for an understated lip, she added a striking classic red lipstick, which brought a beautiful flash of color to the otherwise completely white look. The reaction was immediate. Fashion coverage repeatedly singled out the gown as one of the standout looks of that Venice festival, with Vogue España even calling it the most spectacular dress on the red carpet. Esther Exposito, 2020. Esther Exposito brought a completely different kind of white glamour to Venice in 2020. Simple at first glance, but incredibly striking once you saw the details. At the opening ceremony of the 77th Venice Film Festival, the elite star arrived for the premiere of Lacci wearing a custom white Etro gown that immediately drew attention. The dress looked clean and minimal from the front, but its tone-on-tone floral jacquard fabric gave the white satin a subtle texture that caught the light beautifully. It was the kind of detail you could easily miss at first, but it made the otherwise simple gown feel much more luxurious. Then came the dramatic cut. The fitted column silhouette was interrupted by a thigh-high side slit, while the back dropped into a strikingly low, completely open design. Delicate straps crossed and tied at the back, creating an unexpectedly sensual contrast with the clean white fabric. And the hairstyle made that detail even more noticeable. Esther wore her hair pulled back into an extremely long, sleek low ponytail, leaving the entire back of the gown exposed and giving the look an almost sculptural finish. She kept the jewelry focused around her face and hands with Bulgari diamond and emerald pieces, adding a rich touch of color without disturbing the monochromatic mood. Her beauty look stayed soft and polished, glowing skin, softly defined eyes, and a glossy nude pink lip, which allowed the dramatic back and high slit to remain the real focus. Paola Tirani, 2020. Paola Tirani arrived in Venice looking like a modern bride, but with just enough drama to make the white gown feel completely red carpet ready. At the opening ceremony of the 2020 Venice Film Festival, the Italian model and influencer chose a long white Naeem Khan gown for the premiere of Lacci. The look was elegant from the first glance, but its real impact came from the way the dress played with its silhouette. The halter neckline created a beautifully open frame around her shoulders, while a cutout just beneath it brought a more daring touch to the otherwise polished design. The waist was softly draped, allowing the fabric to fall naturally over her figure instead of looking overly structured. And then the skirt added the drama. A high front slit broke up the long, flowing silhouette and gave the dress plenty of movement as she walked. The contrast between the clean white fabric, exposed skin, and fluid draping made the gown feel sensual without losing its elegant character. There was also a clear bridal influence running through the look, something contemporary coverage specifically pointed out. But rather than making it look like a traditional wedding dress, the plunging details and dramatic slit gave it a distinctly fashion-forward edge. Paola kept her beauty styling glamorous and soft, with her hair swept into voluminous waves and a warm, glowing makeup look that complemented the simplicity of the white gown. It was sleek, feminine, and incredibly photogenic, the kind of white dress that didn't need excessive decoration to command attention on the Venice red carpet. Beatrice Valli, 2020. Beatrice Valli brought pure couture drama to Venice in 2020, with a white gown that looked almost like a modern fairy tale. At the premiere of Miss Marx during the 2020 Venice Film Festival, the Italian influencer arrived in a striking white Rami Kadi Couture gown that combined two completely different textures in one look. The top was sleek and fitted, with a strapless bodice covered in intricate sparkling embellishment. The crystals and metallic details gave the white fabric a beautiful shine and created a glamorous, almost jewelry-like effect across the upper half of the dress. But the skirt completely changed the mood. From the waist down, the gown opened into a floor-length sea of white feathers, giving the silhouette incredible volume and movement. Every step made the feathered layers shift, creating that dramatic couture effect that photographs beautifully from every angle. The contrast was what made it so interesting. A structured, sparkling bodice on top and an incredibly soft, textured skirt underneath, polished and glamorous at the waist, then wonderfully dramatic below it. Beatrice kept her styling elegant rather than competing with the gown. She added choppered diamonds, including statement earrings and a striking necklace that filled the open neckline beautifully. Her hair was pulled away from her face into a sleek, low bun, while the makeup stayed soft and refined, with gently defined eyes, sculpted skin, and a nude lip. Walking alongside Marco Fantini, who wore a classic black and white tuxedo, Beatrice's entire appearance had an unmistakably elegant, almost bridal quality. Caterina Marino equal sign, 2023. Caterina Marino looked every bit the Venice Film Festival's leading lady in 2023, arriving in white Atelier Versace for one of the festival's biggest premieres. As the godmother of the 80th Venice Film Festival, Marino had already made a glamorous entrance earlier in the week. But for the Ferrari premiere on August 31st, she went for something far more striking. A custom Atelier Versace gown, built around a beautifully structured strapless corset. The first thing that stood out was the clean white silhouette. Instead of covering the gown in heavy decoration, Versace allowed the shape and texture to create the drama. The fitted corset gave the upper half a sculpted quality, while the softer fabric below brought movement into the otherwise precise design. That contrast was particularly effective. Sharp structure against fluid draping gave the gown a sense of movement without losing its polished shape. It also brought out that classic Versace combination of sophistication and sensuality that the fashion house is known for. Then came the jewelry, and it was impossible to miss. Marino wore a spectacular Pasquale Bruni diamond necklace, positioned perfectly against the bare neckline and adding a serious dose of sparkle to the clean white gown. She kept her beauty styling elegant and refined, with her dark hair pulled back to leave the neckline completely open, and her makeup centered around softly defined eyes and a neutral lip. Cate Blanchett, 2024. Cate Blanchett proved once again that white doesn't have to be simple to make a serious impact. At the 2024 Venice Film Festival, Cate arrived for the premiere of Disclaimer in a breathtaking custom Louis Vuitton gown that looked incredibly clean from a distance, but became much more intricate the closer you looked. The design began with a high, elegant neckline, giving the gown an almost architectural quality. But across the bust came the detail that transformed the entire look. A sheer, curtain-like panel covered in rows of sparkling white crystals. That crystal section created a beautiful illusion against the otherwise pristine white gown. It added shimmer without covering the entire dress and embellishment, so the effect remained sophisticated rather than overwhelming. Below it, the structured bodice narrowed at the waist before opening into a long, fluid skirt that swept toward the floor. The built-in waist detail gave the silhouette definition, while the trailing hem added just enough drama when she moved. Cate kept the rest of the styling deliberately restrained. Louis Vuitton diamond earrings and a statement ring brought additional sparkle, but nothing competed with that extraordinary crystal panel. Her blonde hair was kept polished and softly textured, while the makeup stayed fresh and luminous, allowing the white gown to remain the star. What makes this look so effective is the balance. The silhouette is remarkably clean, the embellishment is concentrated in exactly the right place, and that unexpected sheer crystal detail gives the whole gown a romantic edge. Taylor Russell, 2024. Taylor Russell didn't simply wear white to Venice in 2024. She brought one of Chanel's most extraordinary pieces of fashion history back to life. For the Beetlejuice premiere at the 81st Venice Film Festival, Taylor stepped onto the red carpet in an archival Chanel Haute Couture gown from spring/summer 1993, originally worn by supermodel Claudia Schiffer on the runway. And the moment you saw the bodice, it was obvious why this dress had remained so memorable. The upper section was made from a transparent, hand-painted plastic corset, with bold white lines outlining the structure. Across the bust were delicate pearl and sequin floral motifs, creating this fascinating contrast between futuristic construction and romantic bridal decoration. Then came the most unexpected part. Around the waist, the dress suddenly expanded into a huge pearly white crinoline bubble, almost like a cloud sitting over the slimmer skirt underneath. Beneath that dramatic volume, a semi-sheer white silk chiffon mermaid skirt continued down to the floor and opened into an enormous bridal train. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. Chanel recreated the archival look with 900 hours of work and 70,000 embroidered elements, making this far more than a simple vintage fashion revival. Her short, dark pixie cut with micro bangs left the entire neckline exposed, while sparkling Tiffany & Company jewelry added another layer of polish without taking attention away from the dress. Her beauty look stayed soft and fresh, with dewy skin, rosy cheeks, and a muted lip, creating a beautiful contrast with the almost architectural construction of the gown. Rosie Huntington-Whiteley 2025. Rosie Huntington-Whiteley arrived at Venice in 2025 looking almost completely out of place, and somehow, that was exactly what made the look work. At the Frankenstein premiere on August 30th, she stepped onto the red carpet in a custom white Armani Privé gown, creating a strikingly angelic contrast against the film's dark, gothic atmosphere. The dress was anything but ordinary. Its backless, crystal-encrusted halter bodice was held together by delicate jeweled straps stretching across her shoulder blades, while a dramatic asymmetrical cutout sliced diagonally across her stomach. That unexpected opening kept the otherwise pristine white gown from becoming too traditional or bridal. But then came the detail that completely transformed the silhouette: the enormous white feather boa wrapped around her arms and cascading down her body. It wasn't just an accessory. It created movement around the gown and gave the whole appearance that soft, almost cloud-like quality seen from a distance. She finished the look with Tiffany & Company diamond jewelry, including floral earrings, a diamond cluster bracelet, and sparkling cocktail rings. Her beauty styling stayed much quieter, with brushed-up brows, fluttery lashes, and a deep blush-toned lip, allowing the gown and feathers to remain the stars. The result was one of those rare Venice looks where every dramatic element actually belonged together. The crystals gave it sparkle, the cutout gave it attitude, and the feathers gave it that unforgettable red carpet fantasy, turning Rosie into one of the most ethereal figures of the entire 2025 festival. Jennifer Lopez, 2021. Topping our list is Jennifer Lopez, and honestly, this was the kind of Venice red carpet entrance that instantly became history. On September 10th, 2021, Jennifer Lopez arrived at the premiere of The Last Duel in a breathtaking white Georges Hobeika Haute Couture gown, but the dress was only part of the story. This was the night Lopez and Ben Affleck made their first official red carpet appearance together in nearly 2 decades, turning the entire Venice premiere into a massive celebrity moment. And J.Lo clearly understood that all eyes were going to be on her. Her gown was designed to be impossible to ignore. The deep plunging neckline was framed with sparkling crystal embellishment, creating a dramatic line from her shoulders down toward the center of the bodice. Below it, the dress followed her figure in an incredibly sleek, body-hugging mermaid silhouette, before opening into a softer, ruffled finish at the bottom. And then there was that slit. A high side slit revealed her leg as she walked, while the asymmetric, ruffled hem gave the otherwise sleek gown a little more movement. It was sensual without losing the elegance expected from a major Venice premiere, and the combination of white satin, sparkling neckline, and sculpted fit gave the whole thing a distinctly glamorous, almost goddess-like quality. And then came the beauty look. Her longtime team, Rob Zangardi and Marielle Hen, handled the styling, while Chris Appleton created those enormous, glossy, honey-toned waves. The hair had that unmistakable J.Lo bombshell quality, with a polished center part and plenty of volume. Her makeup by Mary Phillips completed the effect with bronzed, sculpted skin, a smoky eye, and a glossy nude lip. But what made this particular white dress so memorable wasn't simply that it was beautiful. It arrived at exactly the right moment. J.Lo and Ben were back on the red carpet together. The cameras were already waiting for them, and she stepped out in a gown that looked almost designed for that kind of comeback. And there you have it, 15 of the most beautiful white dresses ever seen at the Venice Film Festival. From timeless couture and romantic silhouettes to daring statement-making designs, each of these looks brought something completely different to the red carpet. But if there's one thing Venice has proven time and time again, it's that a white gown can create a fashion moment just as powerful as any bold color. Now I want to know, which dress was your absolute favorite, and do you agree with our number one choice? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back for more unforgettable celebrity fashion moments.